Well, we did it again, right? Morel season is here. And before we go into the details of our little adventure we had the last 2 days, a couple hours a day, early in the morning, walking around, scouting. This is what they are. This is a Morel. This is actually what I call a blonde, or a golden, or a common Morel around here, but we just call them the blonde. Okay, the blonde Morel, morsels in the moss. Remember, it grows in the moss. And I wanted to go over a few things about gleaning, harvesting these, foraging, that certain times of year. I'm in the Ozarks, God's garden, like it says, we affectionately call it. Missouri. Misery, actually. If you're in the city, it's miserable. And also, I got some wild onions here. We're going to cut this up. As you notice, I don't pull the roots. I leave the roots there so they can regrow a couple times. And we just cut these up. Remember, chives? Make some chives out of it, and you get a lot out of that. But yeah, as far as this little buddy right here, our little buddy, the blonde Morel, morsels in the moss. Can you see that? Okay. If you notice, I cut the top, cut the bottoms of these, and leave the roots in the ground, spores. But I try not to carry a knife through the civilized areas because they freak out. They think it's a weapon. But yeah, this is pretty much our take for the season. I'm happy with that. I think we did all right, but we need to also sanitize these a little bit, wash them off. It's got dirt. A couple of them might have some slugs on them, a little slug trail or something. But yeah, you just wash them off, sterilize them. I probably will steam them. And there's varieties of funguses and shrooms here in the Ozarks that you can eat. But you need to be careful about funguses. Some of them are toxic, and if you don't know much about it, you need to, well, you need to contact somebody that's a little bit more experienced, that does this, well, for a living. Remember, we're doing this to sustain ourselves and for longevity. This is for your health. These are pretty high in protein. Deer, squirrels, elks, turtles probably. I think turtles eat them. Every time I've seen humping turtles, remember we've seen the humping turtles, we found these. So there must be a connection. But I want to thank you for joining me this episode of the Roman Gnome, Glen Monroe, and gleaning God's garden for morsels in the moss. But we need to prepare these a little bit further. And about the funguses and the mushrooms, you need to be conscious of some of them out there in the woods, what variety they are. If some of them are toxic. If you've never eaten these before, you could have a little bit of an adverse effect because you have to get used to it. It's like anything. You don't just eat a whole pot of these. I'm sure you probably could, but there's other varieties that look similar to these that you should be on the alert and not confuse them. I mean, you'll know when you see this and you see the other ones I'm going to show you, because we're going to talk about a little bit about edible mushrooms and mushroom safety. I don't really consider this a mushroom or a... Let's go over it this way. We have shelves, toadstools, get it? Shelves, stools, and these always, for some reason, have little honeycombs on top, and if you get the bigger ones, the stem looks like people. So you have, think about it. Well, I got shelves, stools, and people. It's kind of like a room. But yeah, I prefer to eat these. I haven't eaten any other ones except for the store-bought ones, and they're all pale white and kind of weird looking. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining me this season, and I had fun. I hope you learned something. Maybe it'll help you in your your escapades and adventures and journeys in life, especially if you get in a pinch and need some food. So what I'll do is I'll sit here and hold this up so you can kind of see, hey, this can sustain you for a little while, you and your family. It's a high source of protein. People keep saying you need protein and fat in the wild. Well, there's sources to get that from without having to kill deer. Because where do the deer get it from, right? So we're going to go where the deer get their source of energy, vitality, and protein from. And I think we're getting to the right spot. Because I found these all along deer paths. And so I'm thinking there might be a connection. They know where to go, so that would be one of your signs. So let's go over the signs of how to locate these. These all grew pretty much in a mossy environment, moist. There was ferns, remember we showed the ferns. Moderate sunshine, 60, 65 degree weather. It rained for several days before, okay? And then it takes about a week, week and a half for these to grow. Some people say the season's actually 3 weeks long, so we might be able to do this for 3 weeks straight. But I used the deer paths that I seen around an area around basically a creek area, and it had low sloping hills. There was moss. I mean, I showed you guys. Look at the photos, video footage. Ferns are edible. Some of the mosses that we saw today and yesterday are edible. Yeah, just think of the perfect logo for the Enchanted Forest book or something. It's got, you know, shroom, moss, fern, little deer, gnomes, turtles, you know. I mean, it was perfect. But it has to be a certain amount of humidity. And there was a couple places that looked like somebody had camped there before, maybe 20 years ago, and they had ash piles. And that one little place where the little farmhouse was, where there probably was a grist mill or they stored grain. That helps. But I hope that gets you inspired, gives you a little bit more detailed idea of what to expect and what these look like. And I hope I helped you out. I had fun. Hope you did too. So if you have any comments, you know, or maybe you can help me out a little bit, or if you'd like to, you know, I got an idea. How about we meet somewhere, you know, have a little gathering, go on one of our little journeys and escapades. That'd be cool. You know, come hang out with me, all right? Go meet you somewhere, or a group or something. We'll go fishing, swimming, wildcrafting, learn some knots that I didn't know about before. You know, something, you know, interesting. Fellowship, friendship, right? And I wanted to talk to you about, before I go, about not exploiting the forest, and let's not turn our park into a parking lot. That kind of situation. And it's getting to the point where it's getting ridiculous. Some of the most valuable, fertile lands on this planet are being turned into a parking lot. So you can go broke obtaining nutrition, you know, food, flavor, having an adventure, traveling, you know, being outside. A lot of people say that I'm homeless. I have actually more land than house, and when I go to the city, they have more house than land, if you know what I mean. And they always, you know, grill me about, hey, where did you get that from? And it's obvious. It comes from the earth, you know. This stuff doesn't grow on sidewalks. It doesn't grow in concrete parking lots. But yeah, I want the forest, you know, to be with me. It's a terrible thing if the forest is against you, the forces of nature. So let's not exploit them. You know, let's be respectful and courteous. So, I'm Glenn Monroe, the Roman gnome, of course, and may the forest be with you. Thank you for joining me, and may your harvest be plentiful and your gleaning bag never go dry, empty. It's got holes in it. That's the whole point of keeping it dry and dropping the spores. That was the other thing, to drop the spores. But thank you for joining me. And if you have any questions or comments, leave one. If you want to be my friend and my buddy, subscribe. That's cool. If you have anything that'll help me, like I said, if you want to team up, we can have an expedition. It'll be great. We'll have much fun. Do that. I have an email address, glennwmsmith@gmail.com. You can email me. Don't have a phone. I have a phone, but I just don't have... I can only call 911, but I don't really call them. They're not much help. And with that, thank you for joining me once again for an episode of... What was it? Wildcrafting with the gnome? Gleaning God's Garden. The Roman gnome, Glenn Monroe. Man, I'm really having trouble with the segue, but I appreciate y'all guys. Thank you. And like I said, happy harvesting.